Okay, so I had a female athlete come up after class the other day and she asked, I'm really curious about being able to do more pull-ups. And she's a pretty fit athlete, so I asked her, well, how many pull-ups can you do? She said usually between 8 and 12. Now, 8 to 12 strict dead hang pull-ups is a really good number for female athletes because most of them can't do one. All right, and 8 to 12, you're definitely in the top 1% of the country, if not the world, on your ability for that specific assessment and measure of fitness. That's a great number. That being said, can we get her to 15? Yeah, probably. Could we get her to 20? Maybe. 20 plus? Who knows? Really depends on the athlete. But that kind of brought up the conversation of this idea of floors and ceilings. And floors and ceilings are really important when it comes to athletes who need multiple types of fitness. So like say an endurance athlete really just needs endurance, a strength athlete just needs strength. But when we start talking about soldiers or hybrid athletes or athletes that have various components of their sport or profession, they need to be good at multiple things. And so what we do is we kind of take each of these individual attributes and we have a floor and a ceiling. The floor being the minimal acceptable standard for that attribute. And the ceiling being like, hey, once you get up towards the ceiling, it's not really worth trying to go above it because the amount of time and effort required to get above it is so great that you're probably gonna lose fitness in other areas. If we look at fitness as like a fitness and time continuum, what you see pretty much across the board is that initially upon starting training, your fitness builds very rapidly. So right here is the 0 point. We start training, let's just say maybe this is weeks going across. You're gonna see a huge jump in performance. Every session you come in, you train, there's adaptations happening, you're getting more and more fit. All right, so you're like, wow, this is great. Every day I come in, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting faster. But what we see over time is that it starts to really plateau and your return on investment in regards to time put into training gets lower and lower and lower. And this leads to a lot of frustration for a lot of athletes. You can think about it this way. We have the floor right here and the ceiling right there. The floor is that you are just fit enough for whatever you're trying to accomplish, okay? The ceiling means you're extremely fit and you probably can just go into maintenance phase for that specific attribute. To get from here to here, we have to understand that the units of input, whether that's time or training sessions or days or weeks, whatever it may be, it takes more and more units of input to go up this ladder, all right? And that's just unfortunately the way fitness works. An untrained athlete, you put them on a bike, just hey, ride your bike 3 times a week. They're probably gonna get faster on the bike. If you take Lance Armstrong or a Tour de France racer and say ride the bike 3 times a week, they're probably actually gonna lose fitness, right? Because they require so much more input to maintain and to increase their ability within that specific attribute. So we have to ask ourselves a few questions when we think about creating these goals, whatever they may be. Is one, why is it a goal? Is there a specific reason you do it, or you just kind of want to do it to see if you can do it? If there's a good reason, such as an assessment that's coming up, then absolutely it's worth pursuing. You're probably going to have to step away from some other facets of fitness and pursue that with higher volume and frequency. But it's typically going to come at a cost. Very rarely can we start to manipulate those two variables high enough to create an adaptation for an experienced athlete without sacrificing in other areas. There's also always the possibility of an overuse injury, right? So if we start doing pull-ups, let's say 3 to 4 times a week, so we're increasing our frequency, increasing our volume, there's always the chance that you could develop an overuse injury in a joint. And then once that injury is kind of developed, it's gonna take a while to get rid of it. And potentially you go from training at a high frequency, now you incur an injury, and now you're not able to do that exercise at all. So now we have to back way off of our training frequency and volume, and then now your fitness is really gonna suffer. You have to understand that improvement in fitness is going to be temporary. If we take this female athlete and get her to 15 pull-ups, she may be able to do 15 right when she completes the cycle after she recovers, but 2 or 3 weeks later, she's probably not going to be able to do 15. And a month and a half later, probably won't be able to do 15 as well. She may go down to 14, 13, maybe even back to 12. Because as soon as we reduce our training volume and frequency, right, she's going to lose some of that fitness she gained. So you have to understand that it's a lot of work just to have that one kind of high moment and then to go back down. And ideally, she's going to be a little stronger than she was on average when she started, that she won't be able to maintain those 15 reps over a long period of time. Ultimately, what we have to do is, when we think about these goals or like these metrics that we're going to accomplish, is like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is there a good reason to actually, strive to get to that number when we could be putting our time and effort and energy into other goals that basically will give us a higher return on investment? Maybe that's endurance or work capacity or flexibility, mobility, whatever it may be. Because ultimately, what training comes down to is an allocation of resources, and those resources are the most valuable one is going to be our time.